I have been working on the theme of Caribbean migration for over a decade now, and my primary interest there is understanding how people first came to Connecticut primarily to work in the tobacco industry and how they eventually leveraged those opportunities to become the largest immigrant group in the population. My specific iteration of the project for the initiative on campus dialogues focuses on how my study can help to change the conversations people are having about immigrants and immigration, about issues like quotas, like guest workers coming to the United States. I think every generation in the United States can probably say that immigration is a real world problem, from understanding quota systems that let in only particular groups into the United States, including particular national groups, to systems that let in refugees and asylees, for example, or systems that welcomed and promoted the use of guest laborers in the United States, whether that was the Bracera program that brought in Mexican workers, or the similarly inspired program that brought West Indian migrants to the Northeast and to the South to work in tobacco or to work in the sugarcane industry or to work picking apples. My work also wants to help provoke a larger conversation among people who don't know anything at all or who maybe haven't encountered any particular immigrant groups that they went to church with or were neighbors of. Because I think this research can make it very easy for us to understand that we all have the same hopes and the same dreams and the same fears, and that ultimately we're all humans. And the fact that I'm an immigrant from Jamaica and somebody is an immigrant from Italy or is descended from immigrants from Italy or Poland or Germany still makes us all Americans, and that we all have the right to be here. The primary challenge is funding, getting the kind of funding to help support this work. Because once I realized that the conventional spaces didn't have the kind of records to support telling this story, I had to add oral history as a major component to the study. And while I certainly can execute a lot of oral histories, transcribing the oral histories actually costs more than doing them. So it's just like the day-to-day labor of making sure that as I do the work, I'm leaving an archive for other scholars who will come behind me, and also transcribing the interviews so that my informants can have access to the written transcript of their own history. So staying on top of that has been very difficult to find the funding. There's a lot of funding to support the research, not necessarily a lot of funding to support the labor, the kind of hidden labor of doing this kind of work. So the most surprising part has been how much of a clamor there is in the community. I'm not at all surprised that people want to see stories about their communities, but I was very surprised that people went from looking at the exhibit, reading some of the script and saying, I want you to tell my father's story in this exhibit. I want you to tell my uncle's story in this exhibit, and I'm going to provide you with the materials that you would need so that I can see my family member or my community member on the wall. And so I have had to write a very text-heavy, very narrative-heavy exhibit that is very different from a lot of other exhibits out there. And so I think the most surprising piece in a nutshell is that the exhibit is a hybrid one, and it does not obey all of the rules of conventional exhibition writing. And it certainly is not a book, but I think it suggests and provides us a chance to see just how much people want a story. They need a story, and if the story is interesting, they will read it. This grant has been really pivotal in helping me to step back from my primary academic lens and to think about how I can promote the public history side of this project. I have conducted a lot of interviews. I have created a pilot exhibit that is now traveling to different schools and to different heritage and museum organizations. And the most important part of the grant has been all of the facilitation training and dialogue and sort of storytelling techniques and strategies that we have been exposed to in the 6 sessions that we had over the 2 semesters.